Good afternoon. Just want to start by saying that still very excited about this past Thursday, even though it didn't turn out the way we wanted it to. Encouraged by the support and all the positives that were gained from the experience that we had against the Buckeyes here at home, and the way that our fans showed up and gave us a great opening to our season. Obviously, the ability not to finish is very frustrating and disappointing and not acceptable. But I thought our players were ready to play to start the game, played a tremendous first half. And with 2 minutes to go in the third quarter, we were down by 6 and had a lead up to 4 minutes to go in the third quarter. And then we just series of plays that we weren't able to make, and they capitalized on, and we're not able to recover. So disappointed in that part of it. But as I said afterwards, and will continue to say, breakthrough is a mindset. It's a culture change. It's an expectation. And, we're raising the expectations here. People and I share in that disappointment when you don't beat the number 2 team in the country, and you feel like you should have, even though we didn't and had a large gap at the end. But the bottom line is that's where we want to be. And being close and, playing a great first half and, all that isn't good enough. And that's how I want it to be. So we embrace that, and we also take all the positives from the experience and allow those to help us grow and move forward. It's about learning from your mistakes and pressing on. And that's my mindset. That's our expectation as a staff for our guys, and thought we had a good couple of days with them. Here's the last Saturday and Sunday with our team, getting our guys' minds right, getting them ready to have a great week of preparation for our most important game of the season, which is Virginia, because it's the next game, and that's how we approach it. And that will be the case every single week. The goal is to be 1-0 at the end of this week, as we had to take on an ACC program that has momentum with Coach Mendenhall in his second year. And he's done a great job at Brigham Young for many, many years, and is building his own culture and his expectations there. And you can see the growth in what they do. So in wrapping up our game from last week, just wanted to go through the players of the game in regards to our preparation. Really believe in honoring our scout team guys that give us a great look and really allow us to be prepared to participate at the highest level on game day. And the defensive scouts for last week were Andrew Stam, linebacker, LaDamian Hunt as the DB, offensive scout team players of the week, Nick Tronti at quarterback, and Isaac James at receiver. And there was multiple guys on both sides of the ball that were mentioned that could have been awarded those. I thought the attitude was tremendous and effort was great by those guys. Players of the game offensively was Simi Cobb, and his performance, as was been well documented, was a good start to the season. He still has things to work on. He knows that, but he did make some plays and played well. Defensively, T. Gray Scales was the player of the game for us, as voted by the coaches, and he's was as disappointed as anybody in our performance. So he took it personal, and that's what we want. And special teams was Chase Dutra, who continues to be, was last season and is this year, even though he started in the game. His role in special teams is huge for us, and his energy and his focus and his execution was what it needs to be. So, but did not have enough young men to receive what we consider winning performances, and that was the result of coming up short and not finishing. And so, but proud of the effort that was given. Just had to go through and evaluate why things went the way they did. Also, before we take questions, just wanted to recognize the 10 players from our program that are on NFL rosters in various roles, and excited for them, proud of them, and I'm anxious to see them have a great season and represent Indiana University in a first-class way in their communities and the teams that they're on. Ready for questions?
Anything stick out to you that you really need to work on or improve?
I think the thing that jumped out, we went through and did an evaluation of the third quarter to kind of go through and figure out exactly what we felt happened, and it became pretty obvious as you go through and do the evaluation of it, is that we began losing first downs, on both sides of the football. the way we gauge that, and we do competitions in practice all throughout spring ball and fall camp where we have first down competition. And the defensive goal is to hold them to 3 yards or less. And if that happens, then the defense wins. The offense has to get more than 3 yards. They got to get 4 yards or more, to win those snaps. And as you saw the game unfolding, in the first half, we were winning those and getting multiple 3-and-outs defensively, getting first downs on offense. Had 17 of those in the first half, and then in the third quarter, everything started changing. Even though when we got that, and this is kind of a prime example, we got a key 4th down stop in that third quarter, and then went and got a 3-and-out the very next series. And that went back to not winning first down. We don't win first down; it limits us in our ability to get our momentum going and our tempo going on offense, and it also defensively, gets us behind the chains defensively and what we want, and gave them too many 3rd and shorts. They had 10 of those, and that's too many. And those are not easy for the offense to execute and to win, but easier than 3rd and 6+. So we had way too many of those, and it was interesting how it all kind of flipped in the first half. We were gaining those, winning those, and so I thought that was, and then that adds to not enough, too many drives by the offense, not enough rest because we're not getting off the field, and then offensively we're not staying on the field, so it just compounds the issue. So, but another thing that was glaring to me was just depth, just depth, and ability to take our starters out, especially defensively, and not have a drop-off in production or in performance by our 2s and 3s. And so that will continue to be addressed and challenge our guys to step up in those roles, to be able to be on the field and make plays against a great football team, whether it's 10 snaps or 12 snaps or whatever your role happens to be. When you're in the game in those situations, we need you to play at a high level. And that, to me, is really something that was pretty glaring.
What's the latest on Westbrook?
Unfortunately, he has torn his ACL, so he'll be out for the season. So we had the MRI on Saturday, and so hurt for him. But, as we've shared with our team, that, sometimes life's not fair. Things happen, and it's tough, and he's got a good attitude about it. He just knows that this is a challenge he has to overcome. And you just watched the games even yesterday and the day before. There's, things like that happen, and it's unfortunate, but it's part of the game.
Virginia's quarterback was completing about 70% of his passes. What do you guys need to do, defensively to limit him?
He's a really good quarterback, very accurate, and he big thing, with quarterbacks like him, pressure is a big deal. Everybody's a little different at that position when they have pressure. Also, being able to disrupt the timing of the routes, they're getting the ball out pretty quick in their system and what they do. So I feel like I'm sure that will continue. That's what they're going to try to do. So just to be able to disrupt timing and disrupt his rhythm is a key.
I know obviously Donovan Hale started over Nick at wide receiver, at least he was listed ahead of him on the depth chart, but with Nick out, how encouraged were you by not just Simmy's performance, but Donovan's performance?
Yeah, there's a lot of guys, that we had 10 different receivers catch balls, and Donovan played to the way we expected him to play, as we saw in practice all fall camp. And so we have, it's one of our deeper positions, even though you hate to lose a guy of his caliber. Definitely is going to hurt. But, younger guys got to step up, and opportunities to be given to them. And that's what this is about, is one individual has a challenge and somebody else has to rise up and create his own opportunity and take advantage of it. So it'll be more of that.
Last year, the same thing happened with Simi, and then Nick stepped up with Nick out. Who are some of those younger guys that you guys are hoping or expecting to step up into the play?
Well, right now, obviously all the guys that played won't be given opportunities to be getting, just like they did in the game, because he didn't play a snap. He got hurt on the first play, and we actually addressed that with our team. I talked to our players about that. A year ago, Simi was injured on offense on the first play of his season, and then Nick on the first play of his season on a special team, and just have to be able to, as those guys did in the game. You know, we expected to have him and we didn't, and had to adjust. You know, and so, but I think we got a couple freshmen. You know that Walt Philyor is a young man that is a special player. Was injured right prior to fall camp, so was put just put him behind for sure in learning the system. But very, very talented, and so he'll be in the mix to see where his preparation is. And Ty Freifogel is another young man that's a freshman that's going to be in the mix as well. And we got other guys that are already on the team that we'll see how they respond. You know, and so I always tell our guys that and we use our scout team as obviously preparation for each side of the football, but it's an evaluation time. And so those guys that you know, we'll have guys that are going to be dressing and playing and on the scouts at certain times in practice and giving us a look. But when I'm down there with the defense, you know, I get to see all those receivers and offensive guys, and it's their job to convince their position coach and the head coach that they deserve to play. So those are opportunities for those guys when they're down there. Because I obviously talk to our offensive coaches and say, hey, this guy is catching our eye, or same thing happens on the other side of the ball. So I think that's where those guys like that are going to have opportunities, and it's a long season, and that's why you have to have depth, and things happen to guys, and sometimes there's injuries that last the whole season, and you know, some programs lost their quarterback for the whole year this weekend. You know, so it's obviously a part of this game. We will continue to play two because Harry Kreider is a very talented freshman and tough position to play at that age, but he's continued to develop, and we'll see how we bring him along. It allows us to play two guys at a position that I feel like is, you know, a critical position. So he did well when he was in there, but that was pretty heated fire to throw him into as a true freshman against that caliber of a defensive line. So he did well.
Was that just how good Ohio State was and the push they were getting both sides of the ball in the second half, or is that a red flag for you guys?
You know, I don't. You know, it's a concern. You know, and we had a concern going into the year with our depth there, and Brandon being out. You know, and so the depth will, with him coming back. You know, he practiced yesterday, and so he will help us with that depth. We'll see how much he plays this week. But we got to keep growing that. You know, I think it was a combination of both. You know, I think that I know for a fact that they're extremely talented. You know, I watched them live, and I watched a lot of games over the weekend, and I didn't see anybody any better than the crew we just played up front, you know, all across the country. So very, very talented front for them for sure, and their coaches agree. So I think that a little bit of combination of both, you know. Brandon? Yeah, I would say, you know, initially that's the thought, you know, but, you know, he's a guy that can play multiple positions, you know, so I think it's about getting the best five on the field. So we're not ready to say where that would be yet. It's going to depend on how he comes back this week, and we'll see where that goes. But the goal is to get the best five linemen on the field.
Acclimated. I know he missed kind of the whole preseason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think realistically, you know, like you said, you practice him yesterday, and you practice him all this week, and you monitor his reps, and you see how he's progressing, you see how it feels after each practice, and then you build from there. You know, so you like to systematically bring him back into the fold. You know, I think that's the wise way to do it, because you got to think of the whole season, not just one game.
Two All-American defenders at safety and at linebacker, what other challenges do they pose to the offense?
Well, I'll tell you what they do, and I've always done, you know, as a defensive coach, I've always watched Brigham Young's teams play and how they play defense, and they're so aggressive and well coached, very disciplined, and very multiple, you know, in the looks that they give, especially in the back end. You know, just all sorts of different combinations and exotic pressures, and just, you know, and their head coach is defensive coach too, and that's what he's the one kind of orchestrating all that. So they give you a lot of challenges because they're hard to run the ball on by structure. That's kind of how they're built. And then when they force you to throw, then they try to give you and try to confuse you with the multiple looks. And so I've had a lot of success with that, you know, and that's why last year, even though they didn't have the record I'm sure that they wanted. Majority of their games were very, very close. You know, they were very, very tight games against good teams, you know, and went to Duke and beat Duke, you know, on the road last year. And so when you play good defense, you're going to be good on special teams, then you're going to have a chance. They control the ball pretty well and have a good quarterback. So it's a good combination. It's a good football team.
For this week, when you put so much into a game, regardless of whether you won or lost, to make certain your guys are focused and emotionally and mentally bounce back?
Yeah, I think that's the key. You know, and I know for me, I was very careful with our guys. I know the media, you know, and I said what it was, and it's the truth. It was the biggest home opener in the history of our program. That was true, you know. And the bottom line is that throughout the process, though, I would always talk to our guys about understanding, regardless of what happened in that game, win or lose, we have to turn around and play Virginia the next week. And we talked about that in the spring, in the summer, during fall camp, that it was a big game because it was our next game. It was the biggest game of the season because it was our next game. And that's the way I have always approached it as a head coach. And I told our guys when we met on Saturday, Virginia's the biggest game of the season. Why? And they said, because it's the next game. And that's the approach. There's no question there was a lot put into that. Like everybody puts a lot into your opening game. And it was a conference game, you know. And so, but to say, you know, you win that game and then you don't play well the next several weeks and you're back to where you were before, you know. So that doesn't, it can't be focused on just one thing. And there's a danger in that, I think, whenever you approach a game. But at the same time, you know, has to be maturity to your staff, to your players. We've got some older guys on our team that understand that. And, yeah, sure, you're disappointed and, you know, you don't get the outcome that you want. And that's you should be disappointed. You should be, you know, I wouldn't use the word devastated, but man, when you play that well for so long and then you don't finish, it's frustrating. But at the same time, you know, you have to understand that you have to have lasting mental toughness. And that, to me, is the key. And that's when you build a program. You're trying to build a program. And that's where, for me, you know, the things that you say and you do, you're trying to change a long-standing mindset, you know, of things that have been a certain way for a while, you know, ever since our kids have known Indiana football, you know, in terms of they haven't seen us playing at a consistent level year after year after year. You know, it hadn't been that way. And so that's what we're trying to change. And so it's not an easy change. It's going to be challenging. There's going to be disappointments. And we definitely embrace those head on. And I think that you just have to, you know, be a football team that understands that it's a long season and, you know, something happens good to you, you don't overreact. Something happens bad to you, you don't overreact. You just keep plugging away.
The most improvement you make is between week 1 and week 2. How much does it help having a couple extra days in between those?
Yeah, I think it's helped. You know, we were able to have a practice yesterday that was a different kind of practice than a normal Sunday because of the time we had as coaches to prepare. And so we feel like you gain an extra day in your preparation, in both getting your body back, getting your mind back, and then getting yourself a jump on them schematically. And that's what we were able to do in all 3 phases. So that was very, very beneficial for us to have that day yesterday, and even as a coaching staff in our preparation. So, but and I do think that having coached for many years, you do see that improvement from 1 to 2 in your season. So that's our expectation for our guys, and I believe that's what's going to happen.
The balance you strike, I mean, guys can get hurt just about anywhere, but what's the balance you strike with using first team guys, prominent role players on special teams as well?
Oh, I think that's program philosophy. Did you pay attention to who blocked the punt against Florida State? It's their starting tailback. And their backup was on the other side. And that's that way every year. And you know, we talk to our guys all the time about if they want to make an NFL roster, they better be able to play special teams if you're a wide receiver. There's a toughness to it. I mean, you watch the play, and it's just like, I don't know how he got hurt. You know, I mean, it was just one of those things where he planned it, and, you know, it happened. It could have happened when he went to block a guy on the first play of the game as a receiver, you know. So I'll never, to me, we've got to have our good players playing special teams. I mean, T. Gray Scales is on the punt team, you know, and covering kicks, and that's part of it. I mean, if you want to be a great football player, you better be able to play on special teams. Now, you got to be smart about it. You know, he wasn't on all four, you know, but, you know, I believe in your coverage units especially, you better have guys that you trust and they can run and make plays, you know. So you look back, obviously, you say, hey, would we have, you know, want to get injured for sure, but I don't regret putting him on the kickoff team. I think that's what you do. You just put your best players on the teams, and if you say it's a third of the game and then you don't put your best players on that doesn't really make a lot of sense, you know. So it's either important or it's not. And then depth comes into it too, for sure. I mean, we played an Ohio State team that has the luxury of rolling in, you know, a lot of their twos on special teams, and there's not much of a drop-off in talent and speed from that. So that's, you know, I haven't coached too many places where that was the case, where you had that luxury to be able to do that, you know. So we have to use our guys, and unfortunately, you know, you don't play scared to get hurt. Not good enough, you know. Now, we do have the RPO system. We have 18 RPOs that were called. They ended up being passes that could have been runs. So that's 18 more runs we could have had, you know, but not effective enough. To me, it's about being effective, you know, and you take what they give you for sure, but we got to be able to run the football. And I've said it from the very beginning. You got to stop it on defense, which we didn't do in the second half, and you got to be able to run it on offense based on what they give you. And so, you know, but if they're going to load the box and do certain things that force us to get the ball out, those balls on the perimeter are often in our system are considered runs. And so we've, you know, had that kind of a system. I've been part of that for a long time, you know. So that can change the number of them that you have, because you call them with the ability for the quarterback to read the situation to make the call on whether it's going to be a run or a pass. And so, but we do need to run the football better, for sure. But they're a tough outfit to run on, no doubt.
What did you see from Chris Covington?
You know, I thought that wasn't as consistent across the board as I'd like for him to be, but saw a lot of good things. Saw him flash of making plays and run the way he can run, and sideline to sideline guy, got good length. So encouraged by his progress. Just he's one of those I think will grow from 1 to 2, because he hasn't played a ton of snaps at that position, you know, being a former quarterback. And so just, but no, he did some good things for sure.
61% of his passes. How encouraging was it to see the way he was clicking with like Simi and Ian?
Yeah, I mean, we played really well in the passing game early, for sure, for, you know, the whole first half and a chunk of the third. But as they make their adjustments, we got to be able to make ours and continue to stay confident and throw the ball well. But yeah, he did some good things. I mean, it was pretty obvious that you know, he was creating a lot of challenges for their defense and making plays, which is what we expect him to do. And that's the guy that I saw throughout, you know, fall camp and even this past spring, and just got to build off of it. I mean, he should come away from that. We got to protect the football. That's always going to be a priority, but a lot of positives to build off of for sure.
Another guy who's made a lot of plays against Ohio State. How do you see him fitting in, especially with Westbrook down?
Oh, I think his role is going to increase for sure. But he played in that game the way I saw him play in practice. I think he's a great player. You know, we awarded him a scholarship during fall camp, and he earned it. And it was definitely very well deserved, and I expect him to continue to make plays. He's got great hands. He's very smart, and he understands how to get open.
Ramsey in there, you know, showed a little different package. Is that something that you look forward to making use of as you go ahead?
I do. I think that he has a valuable skill set. It was good for him to, you know, number one thought is you got to have, you know, more than one quarterback, you know, to prepare for whatever may happen in the future. And number two, I think he brings a different kind of skill set that can create some challenges for the defense and advantages for us. And so we have total confidence in him, and the more he plays, the better he's going to get. And I was encouraged to see him make plays, you know, in that environment for the first time. That's his first, you know, college experience, you know, in a game. So he has a lot of great attributes.
Scholarship sort of award videos on Twitter, but are we allowed to ask what all walk-ons wound up on the scholarship?
Yeah, Ryan Watercutter was awarded a scholarship. Had some fun with that. We do and it was kind of humorous because he's very conscientious, and everybody on our team loves him and respects him because he's just an awesome kid that does everything the right way. And so I wanted to you kind of find creative ways to award him. And so we did our special teams pop-up meeting, and I kind of set him up. I baited it to where I was pretty confident he would not jump out of his seat to be the sub that's supposed to do that. And when a guy doesn't do it, I'd kind of laid the groundwork in the previous meeting. I was going to be very upset if you did not jump up, because basically if you're of a number 2 and we call the guy in front of you his name, he goes down, and then you have to jump up and say, I'm his replacement, so we know that there's no substitution errors. And so, but we tell him who's going to be those guys that are popping up in the meeting, and his guy wasn't highlighted. That's why he said what he said. And when I jumped all over him, he said, well, Coach, it wasn't on the list. And so I ripped him, and then he went from like pale, from getting ripped, to red, to being embarrassed, to pale again. He was just all over the place. And I had to say it twice for him to realize that he really got a scholarship. And even the team was kind of like, they were all shocked because they didn't know. They felt bad for him. My guy was like saying, Coach, I felt so terrible. You were just all over him. And so we had some fun with that. But, yeah, he's a guy, and I've said it at that point, he's one of the – when I think of a guy that's earned a scholarship, just from being a walk-on, he's exactly what you want for a walk-on, that just was yes, sir, to everything, never complained about what he was playing or not playing. Scout team just went 100%, works hard, does everything right. Got injured last year, had surgery, came back, never, just so proud of him. So those 2 guys were ones that we awarded scholarships during fall camp, Luke Timian and Ryan, and they both played, and he's going to have to play and help us have a big catch on third down. So those are 2 guys that we really very happy for, proud of them, and excited they can have that opportunity.